Dude, I'm just on fucking Facebook waiting right now. What are you doing?
We're waiting on TJ.
You're texting.
I am.
Who?
Yo, mama.
Hello and welcome to the Invincible podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a show where friends get to sit around and talk all things Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman. I'm your host Ryan, and joining me is Bill.
Hello.
And TJ.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
You alright?
So downtrodden
Sounded a little
today.
sad there.
Not at all.
Oh,
That sounded sad.
I'm excited.
You excited? How have you guys been?
Good.
Yeah. I saw Logan.
Oh, and
Did you didn't end up seeing it yet?
Not
do you agree
not a fan
that
of the character. I'll see it eventually. I hear good things, but
Yeah.
well, I hear some good things and some.
Really?
Well,
boring or not boring?
It was.
Bill says it's boring.
I don't think it was necessarily boring. I like X-Men. I don't like that Wolverine has become that main character that he has of the of the movies, but I thought it was awesome. Thought it was really, really good. So I dug it.
Really? Even? Oh, we can't talk about it because you didn't see it.
That's all right.
Neither did. I mean, we're also live on the air, and probably a lot of these people have not seen it.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. No, it's all right. But anyways, no, I've been doing good. Lots of good movies out lately. Lots of good video games out lately. A lot to do, and Invincible is back, right? So we've got issue 134 just came out, so we're going to be talking about that today. Before we dive into that, we've got Invincible action figures. They're finally here.
Finally.
And
they
awesome.
were announced
like a couple days after our last episode.
Like
which we had our guest spotlight on Bo Pilgrim, who makes custom Invincible action figures, and we talked about how awesome it would be to have them. And then like a couple days later, they get announced.
So so anything that we talk about comes true, right?
Oh,
These
yeah.
are magic mics that we talk into?
Yep.
If we rub them the right way?
How many times have we talked about it going in, like, an Invincible movie and stuff, though? It still hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but
it has not happened.
So these figures, there's two different versions. We've got
TJ has one here.
Yeah, TJ
We're
actually
looking
got
at
one
it right now.
I had to get the bloody one.
It's pretty
first.
sweet.
I will eventually get the other one.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. So there's the clean version and the bloody version. I'm kind of torn. I want two of each. I want an open one and a boxed one on card. Now, TJ, do you plan on keeping yours in the box or taking it out?
I'm going to keep it in the box.
Are you? Nice.
I just don't. I'm not going to play with it if I take it out of the box. I'm going to be like, I want to hold it just like one time. You know what I mean? But once I take it out of the box and then I hold it and I'm like, oh, well, no, I just want to put it back in the box forever.
But it's about posing it too. Putting in a cool pose and stuff.
Display.
Let me.
I have an idea for posing the bloody one that I can't. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to do it and hopefully it works out.
Him on his knees with Angstrom Levy. That kind of thing.
It's something. We'll see. If it works out, I'll post it on the Twitter.
In the grand scheme of things, in 1,000 years, because the Earth is still going to be here, and that's just going to be dust anyways, wouldn't you rather play with it?
I don't know. I mean, the fact that
I would not play with it though.
I mean, the fact that it's made by Skybound and everything like that. I mean, it's not like something you can get in stores. Does mean that it could be, potentially more rare.
Well, and depending on what happens,
and if Invincible gets bigger,
is Skybound exclusive though. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
all Invincible figures,
Walking Dead
figures,
stuff. You can go to Target and get Walking Dead figures.
True, because they came out with a show and stuff.
I know.
But I mean, like,
yeah, but everything ebbs and flows. So, like, if hopefully they come out with a show, an animated TV show, a movie, and Invincible, the comic's gonna fucking skyrocket. Like, your first issue is gonna be crazy, and then once it dies down, it's gonna be as worthless as it was before.
Or you just get two of each, which is what I'd love to do.
But that's $100.
Would you say that before Walking Dead became a show and no one really knew about it, and if we had an action figure like this, do you think that action figure that came out before the show would be worth a ton of money right now?
I think at the peak of the show it would be, but then, dude, people, that's not locked in. Like, it's interest. You know what I mean? People pay for things that they want.
It's awesome. This is what we've been wanting for a long
regardless
time.
Of who cares how much it's worth. It's awesome.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is I could care.
Now,
if it was worth a lot of money, I wouldn't sell it.
Now, for those of you that got to the Invincibles, the letter section of Invincible, you'll notice that Robert Kirkman actually kind of made a point to say that Megabox, the what do you call it? Quarterly
subscription
box.
box.
The quarterly subscription box that Skybound does. The action figure that's included in the next one is actually going to be Invincible related. He didn't say what it was going to be, but he did say that Megabox will hopefully be posting pictures or doing something soon.
Blue and black.
You think it's blue and black?
And black.
I have a
blue
feeling
and
it is.
black.
Really? The blue and black costume?
Yeah.
No.
It's absolutely the blue and black.
I think it's going to be a
put
blue and
money on
black
it.
variant. I agree.
Of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the bloody one, unless it's blue and black and bloody. Or what if it's
I
just
don't think
like,
it'd be bloody.
or what if it's just like solid color with
It could
blood?
be.
You don't
It
think-
could be
or
both.
black with
because
blood?
sometimes what they do with subscription boxes is that like half the people will get one figure, half the people will get another figure.
That would
You know what I
bother me. Because then I didn't get it. I don't know.
You would want the one that you didn't have. Always.
or I'd want both. Like
You think it's going to be an
I
action
don't know
figure?
if there would be a point to doing that though, because it's not like, oh, you should have bought 2 subscription boxes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't think they would do that. So what are you saying, Bill?
You think that it would be an action figure, not like a statue?
Oh no, it is an action figure. It's going to be just
It's
like
a
the Negan
movable,
one.
articulate.
Yep,
They're all gonna be
It's going to
action
be
figures.
just like that,
Then yeah, now I do believe that
McFarlane
it would
and
be
everything.
a blue.
which would be cool.
Variant.
I think that'd be awesome. So that's exciting. Also, one of the Emerald City Comic Con exclusives, other than the figures, was the pins. You know, yesterday's the pin company released the Conquest and the Invincible pins, which are awesome looking. They added a Adam and Eve and a Invincible logo, the one that pays homage to Youngblood. So those are pretty neat. And all of those are available on the Skybone store now. They're no longer ECCC exclusive. So moving on. The other thing that was mentioned in the letters column, and I wanted to talk to both of you guys about, was Robert Kirkman answered a fan question in there about, you know, tying up loose ends. Someone mentioned, you know, oh, are we going to see Dropkick and Fightmaster again? You know, which, you know, referencing that, you know, famous issue that we refer to a lot, where they go into the future with King Immortal. And Kirkman said, you know, basically that there are a lot of things that, you know, fans can consider loose ends that he doesn't necessarily consider loose ends. And there's going to be, you know, a lot of, you know, cool throwbacks and things in the coming issues, but there might be and probably will be some things that are not, you know, tied up.
I think that's Kirkman just going off on his own little thing, but I think we talked about something that I brought into the podcast in issue 22 that was 122, where it was
Yes.
some like alien that asked Eve for help, and Eve was like, no, don't touch it, and they walked away, and then someone else picked it up, and then it said, oh, thank you, and then transformed into the other alien. And we never saw anything about that
it
again.
introduced an alien that was able to shapeshift.
Yeah, so we never saw that again. That's something that I think that Kirkman is talking about. Like, oh, there's some things that like we don't need to go back to. This is something we absolutely need to go back to, and I think that Kirkman knows that. I have the whole
alien?
future. No, the future. Yeah, if we never see anything about the alien
that's
again,
what I mean. I think
I want to see it.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen, I'm not like pissed off
think
about
that there's
the future needs to happen.
There's an absolutely an acceptable amount of, you know, loose ends that can be left open, which, you know, don't really affect the story. They were just cool things that were put in there that we might never see again.
When
which
you
is
have things
fine.
like Lost, where you're just
Well, yeah, which
was terrible.
I mean, but the question in there in the letters column specifically referenced that issue.
Well,
But he didn't specifically address that.
Right, but his answer to that question was,
well, no, he just asked. He thought that Fightmaster and Dropkick were Immortal's children or something like that. He didn't specifically ask about if that issue was true.
do you know what's interesting now that I think about it is that think about how Kirkman sets up like major villains and issues in the comic and stuff like that. Like that clone copying alien kind of reminds me of how he set up the Sequids. How it was like this one little,
always something really
yeah,
small.
one little thing, and then it slowly comes back. I bet you that it
would
was
have been.
going to be a thing, but now since it's ending, it's not going.
And
to
it
be.
doesn't need to be. So yes, you can kind of see where he might have planted a seed.
Oh yeah,
but
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
very interesting though. We got more from Kirkman at the ECCC. C. I always forget that last C. More from him at the Q&A that he did there. Now, I retweeted the link to the video on our Twitter account. You should definitely check it out. There are a few instances. I think there's 3 instances where he actually talks about Invincible. Fans come up and ask him a few questions. He gives some more insight into why they're ending the series and the decision to end the series. He talks to another fan about the decision to make Omni-Man kind of the villain in the beginning, and that decision that he made, for him to enslave the human, race. As well as a fan asks about Invincible in other mediums, like doing an animated or something along those lines. And before we recorded, I showed Bill and TJ that. What do you guys think of that?
It's happening already. So my response, because what Kirkman did, if you guys hadn't seen it, was that he kind of went off into his own little thing and stopped answering the question. But then he came back to it really quick, and he's like, and as for that, I can't really tell you much because it's probably happening soon. Might be happening soon.
Yeah,
he said we might be close.
Yeah, we might be.
Which
be close,
again,
when
we've talked about it in the past. He can't say anything until it's official, and he doesn't want to say anything just in case something happens. And I get that, but something's happening. Something's happening. It's just whether or not. I mean, it still might not. But
my theory, based off of his answer and his body language and like how he was kind of making a joke about it, like we're close, like, is that when they announce it, there's going to be a trailer for an animated show. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to be.
I'd love it. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. I mean, they listened to fans when it came to the figures. I mean, that'd be huge. It'd be huge. And all this love that Invincible's been getting over the last month or two is great. And I know it's a lot of hype for the end of the series and everything, but making the figures, the new pins, like the mega box, like everything, like there's a lot of stuff coming out for Invincible, and it's a great time to be a fan. So who we are, we're the Invincible Podcast. Like we said, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on YouTube. I've been posting the episodes there if you prefer to listen to us there. Almost caught up on those ones. If you want, you can email us. Our email address is theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. Just like Niall did. Now, friend of the show, Niall, sent us a couple emails and brought up some interesting points that I want to get you guys' opinions on. One thing that he brought up, issue 34, when Mark is trapped in the desert dimension from Angstrom Levy. You guys remember this?
Yep.
So, the future Guardians of the Globe come to save him. Now, Niall, I'm not sure I agree that this has too much to do with anything, but I think it's because, I mean, half these characters are dead. Kid Thor, dead. Knockout, I think that's her name, not dead. Bulletproof doesn't look like that. You mentioned his face, Niall, but his face isn't scarred. He's wearing the Bulletproof costume. I think this is meant to be a future in which Mark doesn't come back. But the really interesting thing I did notice, I've never noticed Monster Girl's costume. Now, Monster Girl's costume in this, issue, she didn't get that costume until she came back from the Flaxon dimension. So that was a cool little thing that Kirkman was like, at some point, probably needed a new costume for Monster Girl to, get. Because I remember recently, Liz and Brittany were kind of laughing at Monster Girl's costume when they came back from the Flaxon dimension. And it was that one. So good catch, Niall, on that. Another theory that Niall was talking about was Marky being the Mark that Immortal remembers and is having trouble remembering from the future.
I love that idea. That is such a smart idea.
It was really cool when I first heard it. I don't know if it makes much sense.
Why not?
Because
it didn't when I first read it, but then I started to think about it. I think the more you think about it, the more sense it makes.
Well, now see, I think that we've got all the different pieces have already come into place. You're not still sick, are you? The Scourge virus. You took your family and left Earth. Mark took his family and left Earth.
But he wasn't. Has seen him
since he's been sick.
But he's also
say it.
It's been alive for thousands of years at this point. He's probably got a couple years mixed up a little bit. So how long do you think
it's been since he's seen Invincible?
Probably thousands of years.
So maybe Marky, he's crazy. He doesn't remember what Mark looks like. What actual Mark, Mark Grayson looks like.
But what I'm saying is, do you think that Marky gets sick? Do you think that Marky takes his family and leaves Earth? Do you think that Marky was in charge of the Voltrumites? Now, I think one of those things is possible, and Niall brings this up.
No, I don't, but Invincible was the one that he was talking to, so it made sense to Invincible. But if it had actually been Marky that was there, he would have been like, "What do you mean, Scourge virus? I never got."
So that would be interesting. So
I'm
yes,
not Invincible.
Then if it's both of them, I like that. If Immortal is getting confused between father and son, some of these things happen to Mark, some of these things happen to Marky. I'd be okay with that.
Did he refer to him as Mark or Invincible? Because then,
I think he said.
I think he said Mark.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. He wouldn't say Invincible.
Yeah.
I think he would say Mark.
Okay.
Now we can actually talk about that issue all night. But we got to move on to the new issue discussion. And after the new issue discussion, stick around for the fan spotlight segment where we actually sit down with Rob Zeida, who is a huge member of the Invincible community, as well as, someone who actually worked alongside Ryan Ottley at comic conventions. And he tells us a little bit about what Invincible means to him. And it's a great conversation. So stick around after the new issue discussion for that. So let's get into the new issue 134. We're going to start with the cover. What do you guys think of the cover? This is our second one on the
I think
End
that
of All
this
Things. TJ.
Oh,
It's that time.
Come on.
It's that time.
What time is it?
It's new issue fucking time. That's what that is.
Okay. So,
I think that this is the most accurate cover that we've seen in a while. Like, it's everything that's on the cover.
you're right,
Like, Ursula crying,
There's nothing
with the thing in the
misleading.
background.
Yeah, with the skulls. Omni-Man's pissed off, look on his face. Adam Eve is pissed off. Alan is front and center on the cover.
And they're in costume.
Yeah.
every single one of the characters on this cover looks so awesome. I love this cover. It's so cool looking. And I can't
I
take
like
credit.
Alan's outfit.
I can't take credit for this. I can't believe I didn't catch it last issue, though, but Ryan Ottley posted it online. The superhero isn't crossed off on the top anymore, and it started last issue. It used to say the best comic in the universe. They crossed it off ever since he went into Telescria. And as listeners of the podcast know, when we sat down with Ryan Ottley, and Ryan Ottley even said so on his Twitter, today or yesterday or whenever, that this issue marks the beginning of something that he's been wanting for a long time. And, we all know that that's, Mark back in costume and the superhero being back. So that's super exciting. That's kind of what this is kind of building up for. But yeah, I'm upset we missed that on the cover of the last issue. Still very, very cool, though.
Thoughts on this overall?
On this issue overall?
Yeah.
Awesome. It's so good.
There's one thing that I didn't care for. Other than that, I thought this was one of the best issues in a long time.
I think a lot of people are going to have a problem with it.
Really?
I love this issue.
No, I think you think that people are still going to be upset that it didn't
Go anywhere.
yeah. quite fast.
No,
Oh,
I think
that's yes, and you know what, people might think that, but I think that's just as crazy as people think the last issue didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So we always talk about Buffy, because we all watched Buffy, and how they have like filler episodes,
Which was 20 years ago,
yeah,
last week.
I know that's insane.
Ooh. Sorry.
Anyways,
What was that?
when whenever
Old.
there's like a filler episode, you're like, oh, and you got to kind of get through it, and then that filler episode later on you find out was actually a major episode, but you just didn't know it when you were reading it or while watching it. I think that's what this issue is. This issue actually set up a lot for the future.
Yeah.
A lot.
So it starts with Thrag finally finding Ursula. He's been searching for her, and he finds her in the last place he would ever think to look, which is...
I love the first page, by the way.
Oh,
like
my
him
God, yeah.
flying down in his cape in the background. That looks awesome. The coloring.
Yes,
Nathan
I know.
Fairbairn, like the blue. The bottom. How Battle Beast looks on his shoulder. Like, just looks terrifying. His eyes and his teeth.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love it. I mean, I know people are pissed that, every time they see it, they're sad that Battle Beast had to die. But you know what? He's a character that died that lives on, like, on one of the most badass characters, and it's so cool looking. Mm-hmm. It's worth it. So
Let me work it.
So he finds Ursula in, what would you call this? Anand's like trophy room, kind of like his dungeon that he would take.
Like a trophy dungeon.
But he'd also it looks like he'd almost take them there and torture them and like.
Yeah, just leave them there.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I like how she called him a monster. He would come here to be alone among his victims.
We find out something really interesting here, though.
What's that?
That they were twins.
Yeah.
And that twin births in the Viltrumite...
We didn't know that?
No, we didn't know that they were twins.
We
knew that they were brother-sister, but not born twins.
And we probably assumed they were close because he spit out babies so quickly that it didn't really ever come to but
this scene was awesome. Her because I always thought that she was kind of emotionless and just didn't give a shit about anything, and I liked that about her. But I almost like this more to find out that she's like the complete opposite of that. She's like pissed off at Thrag.
Yeah, she
you never
goes through a
cared
lot here.
about us.
Yeah, she's crying about him.
We're just soldiers in your army. Yeah. I really liked Ursula in this.
And what about Thrag? I mean, she Thrag goes to like console her, and she says that I recall every moment of my life. You haven't held me since I was a baby.
And the next panel is Thrag looking like he wants to kill her.
So yeah, that.
Well, I mean, going back, she does say that she's, Thrag is the one that says it. She says that you never really cared about us, and he says that's not true. There hasn't been a documented case of twins in the Viltrumite race since the Scourge virus decimated our population. You and your brother were very special to me. That almost kind of made me think that maybe he had plans for them or something like that. I don't know.
Well, I think that he's seeing weakness in Ursula.
Yeah,
like an almost human trait that he's.
At first, I mean, the first time I read it and I saw him like bring his hands up like that, I didn't know what to think. I thought for a second, like, is he just like grossed out? Like, I don't like this emotion. I don't like this feeling. I don't like her doing this. This isn't right. So I almost thought it was like a recoil, but then it probably is him like holding back the rage of killing this weak thing.
So I read comments online, and that's what people are saying.
Really?
I did not take it.
No, that's how I
did not take it like that at all. This is how I took it. I don't think that this is necessarily about Ursula. I think it's about Thrag. I think Thrag almost killed her, and I think that he's fighting the emotions that he's feeling inside of himself.
I could see it either way, absolutely. But it probably is what you're saying. That's what
I think that he's starting to feel emotion, and he doesn't like it.
Interesting.
I think he does care for her.
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking that he did search for her for what seems like a while, and he does console her. He does tell her about how he is special to him.
Look at his face in the last of the four
panel. Yeah. So, no, I know, and he's saying that we will avenge your brother together. It was great seeing them in this issue. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
So, then we get Alan. Alan has come clean. He came to confess what happened
right off the bat.
I love that too. Let's not dwell on this. We got a lot of things we got to do before the last issue.
And it's crazy.
Let's take care of this shit. I like that.
Remember how we all thought it was going to be some big fight at the end and stuff like that?
When is Mark going to find out? And all this? No, boom.
That's another reason why I think a lot happens in this issue. It's just not a lot of action. We got so much action in the last two.
Think about where we were. Think about where we were 2-3 issues ago. Not knowing if Oliver was a double agent, that we found out that he was. We found out why. We found out how, and it's already wrapped up. It was Alan's fault. He's come clean, and it's resolved.
I think it just goes to show again that even though this comic is in its last stint, its last 10 issues now, that Kirkman will still always surprise us. Mm-hmm. We were thinking that this was going to be some gigantic thing, and he's like, no, here it is. Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at all. It was a surprise.
Oh, no. And, he flat out tells Mark, I betrayed you. I can't keep Oliver's death from you. He tells them everything right away. He's not hiding anything.
He wasn't even, trying to hide the fact that he said, I knew. Mm-hmm. I told them where you were with your family. That's... I don't care how guilty I felt. I don't think I would ever fucking admit that. Ever.
And Mark's face... Oh.
So it goes from a panel of Mark's pissed off face and Alan looking surprised, and then Mark's pissed off face again. Mm-hmm. And then you turn the page, and he's just covered in Adam Eve's... what is that called?
It's just her pink power.
Her pink power.
Yeah, let's just call it the pink power. But what she's doing is converting the floor into whatever her pink energy is, which is awesome.
This was awesome.
I love it. So Eve was the one that snapped, not Mark. Even though Mark was tensing up like he was going to. And, no, it was great. Talia freaking out, telling Eve to stop. This is... And her screaming, saying he's sick over this. It's killing him. And then Mark being the one to tell Eve, let him go.
And he's even still saying he's not moving. He's not fighting it at all. And he's saying, I'm sorry.
No, it comes up in an email that I'll read later, but somebody asked, is Eve this much more powerful, or is it just Alan, allowing it? And
both.
I think it's more Alan allowing it. Eve couldn't take it.
He obviously is not putting up a fight at all.
No.
But...
No, she's, yeah. So he knows. His eyes closed. He's just he's almost just letting it happen. Mm-hmm. And, and I like how Alan says, I have so much weight on my shoulders, I just couldn't see it any other way. So, and Mark agrees with him. He says, you did what I can't. You put the lives of the people before your loved ones. That I think that's how it's supposed to be. So,
Yeah, he even says that Oliver wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
Like that
Oliver would understand.
This is the one thing I didn't like. He forgives him way too quick, especially after the issue that we had last, the issue 133. I understand why he did it, and I'm not saying he's wrong for forgiving him. He explained why he forgives him, and it makes sense. It just felt really quick to me. I don't think that his brother just died, and the way he blamed him, and then he just doesn't blame him anymore. It's just real quick.
Yeah,
I think
he didn't give it. There wasn't any time given for him to like come to a realization. He just came to a realization.
I think it would have been cool to your point, and I agree, and that's just a side effect of let's move on. You know what I mean? We have to kind of make it, even though it's not as maybe realistic as we'd like to hope, but I think that it would have been cool if, like, after the whole conversation, like, Mark, like, had a look on his face of, like, I didn't tell you the entire truth about how I feel, like, I don't forgive you. You know what I mean? Like, a look that we would consider doubtful. You know, like, maybe Mark is then going, after all this is done, he's going to go back after Alan.
I don't know. I think my take on that was, I mean, yeah, it kind of felt a little quick, but at the same time, we got all that last issue. We got them fighting last issue. Like, this has been a few days or a day or so. Like, Mark has been dwelling on this. Yeah, it's hard to deal with, but there's so much more going on, and Alan has a point. You know, this is just the way it is, and what's happened now. And I think they need to move on. I think that if the series wasn't ending, yeah, maybe it would have been stretched out a little bit longer, but I don't think it's really necessary, and I don't think it felt weird to me. And not only that, but we get that in Eve. Eve flies away. She's the one that says, Alan, I can't believe, how could you do this? I can't be here right now. And she takes off. She's the one that, you know, isn't letting this slide right now. So, I mean, we do get a little bit of that. And they go right from, you know, I love how Alan is climbing out of the floor that has, you know, returned back to the original floor material. And he talks to Mark about how he needs Mark to recruit his father. Like, that's pretty much what this is all about. He needs Mark, he needs Nolan, he needs the Viltrumites to all come to his aid. So, you know, he tells Mark he needs to try and convince him, and Mark says he'll see what he can do. I love this page of Nolan's face.
I did too.
Oh, it's so cool. He did just him saying no.
But I never understood why he even put up a fight in the first place. Like, why would he say no?
I think he mentions in this, doesn't he think that
he says I'm not losing one more soldier to Alan's.
He's still
vendetta.
all on board to restore the Viltrumites to their full, like, ranks.
But he can't if there's Thrag out there, like, and you don't think Thrag would go after them?
Yeah, and
Mark talks about.
Mark says.
Yeah,
right.
this is the conversation that they have, but he doesn't want to. He's the leader of the Viltrumites. He doesn't want to start a Viltrumite war. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Mark explains to him that it's going to happen either way. I mean, this is going to prevent lives, not destroy them.
Which the page of Mark
deaths.
Yelling at Nolan might be one of my favorite. Might be my favorite page in this entire issue.
I really like it too. The very bottom of the page, if you're reading it digitally, it would be 13 digital or page 13. His neck is like all veiny. His mouth, like Ottley drew him perfectly. He looks so pissed off.
Yeah.
And they're like really close to his face, and then Nolan is just sitting there like straight face and just taking it.
That was a low blower, awesome. and Mark saying, "Or have you forgotten that you let Thrag go in the first place?" And that just awesome. Sets him off.
Yep. Nolan throws him up against the wall. And he says it. He says, "I know this is all my fault." So I forgot about that. I forgot until he said that. I was like, oh shit, he did. Yeah. He was the one that let him go.
Yeah, and even so Nolan says, like, I mean, Alan doesn't just want Nolan. He wants the Viltrumites that Nolan commands.
He says that he's not all of them. Yeah, he said he'll ask, but he can't guarantee.
It's been 5 years, 6 years. Mm-hmm. It's been 6 years since they've been on Earth.
Yep, and Nolan agrees to do that. And on the next page, they talk about it. Mark and Eve are putting on their coalition costumes. And they're saying, like, you know, maybe they've changed. maybe they've changed for the better. Maybe they're selfish. Like maybe they don't want to help us. But it's, Mark says it's the best they could do, and hopefully as time goes on, they'll get more involved. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the Viltrumites of Earth are going to, help?
I think it'll be a money shot. It'll be a panel of a few of them fighting against all odds, and then all of a sudden it's a 2-page splash of all the other Viltrumites flying in to save Nolan.
I think they're going to show up. I don't think they're going to be there from the beginning.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a surprise.
What if the death of Nolan rallies him? Would that do it?
Nolan has to die because Mark is going to lead them.
Yeah, well, that's what the
really,
theory is.
Really sad, but
yeah. So I don't know. I see it happening though. I do. I'm excited to get back to.
It'll probably actually be that Nolan will probably die. Mark will then go back and rally them up behind him.
Yep. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think about these coalition costumes? I'm kind of bummed that
I like them.
I like them too.
Sick.
I was kind of hoping to see Eve in that more.
I love Eve's cape.
Yeah,
I think
Eve
that's
in a
awesome.
long cape.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I'm kind of bummed we only got to see a couple panels of it, but but I can't complain because of what happened next. But
as I'm reading this, I'm reading it. I read it digitally the first time I read it, and the very last panel of this page, you see Eve's hand go up with like the little pink bubbles, and she goes, "I have a better idea." I paused and waited for make it more suspenseful before turning the page because I knew it was coming.
Oh yeah,
and
it's awesome.
A full page of them back in costume.
Yeah,
This would be an awesome page to own.
Oh yeah, good luck. No, that's great. It's so exciting. It's so exciting that he's back in costume. Something we've been waiting for a very long time. If you don't count Reboot, when he was back in his costume for a little bit, it's been so long. I forgot a long time ago we mentioned the fact we brought up the issue, and it was before he left Earth. This was several issues ago. In real time, a couple years. So this is exciting that he's back.
Doesn't the comic and Mark's dialogue make you feel stupid for liking it, for wanting it back?
Yes.
Because he says,
so funny.
He's like, what's the problem? He's like, I don't know, just why? I don't need a mask because my identity's not a secret, so what's even the point?
And he's like, it looks cool, enough?
And she says the damn thing will get ripped off in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. It's cool. I like how they kind of, poked fun at it and said,
it doesn't end there.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know.
My favorite part
is... All right, so they leave, and they're like, okay, and Eve says they're flying away to go check on their daughter, Tara.
And it looks really corny. And, I think it looks corny on purpose. You know what I mean?
So?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think it looks
the
corny.
way they're I don't know. I don't know.
I just like
I think you're supposed to feel stupid.
I think it's supposed to feel like a superhero. It's supposed to feel fresh and different and this is exciting. And then immediately they say, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what she thinks of our costumes."
All right, so I'm gonna go back to because I read it digitally as well, like we talked about, and I read it panel to panel. So when I click the next panel and it's a full page of Tara laughing her ass off, I died laughing. Liz walked in because I was reading it Wednesday, and it was the terrible blizzard, and so she got called off of work, so I didn't know that she was going to come home. And I'm sitting there in the kitchen reading my phone, laughing, and Liz walks in. I'm like, oh my god, don't look. And oh my god, I fucking love Tara so much.
So she's so perfect. As she's making fun of it, I felt like she was making fun of me. You know what I mean? I took it. And she's not wrong in anything she's saying, and that's
what I said.
You know
Don't you feel dumb? You feel dumb liking the costume.
Stupid because she's right. You know what I mean? It feels like when you bring something to somebody and you're like, "Look, this is awesome," and then they point out all the flaws, and then you realize that it is stupid.
Okay, let's. I'm gonna read it because I fucking love it. She says, "Why would you ever wear those clothes?" And then Eve says, "This is what we wore on Earth before you were born." And then Tara says, "Is this what everyone on Earth wears? Grandma doesn't wear this." And Eve says, "No, just people with powers." So Tara says, "So on Earth, people with powers wear naked clothes that make them look naked even though they're not naked? Why?"
And Mark's like, "Don't look at me. This is on you," which is awesome. I love that Mark and Eve are kind of like, "Hey," Mark's like, "Hey, this is your doing.
It's such an awesome family moment. Oh my, and Eve." We don't look naked, and the clothes are tight to allow easy movement. We have to move and fight, and we can't have anything slowing us down. And then Tara says with a look
like this quizzical
that makes you look so stupid. And she says, the cape makes you move faster? And then she says, the cape just makes us look cute. And then Tara says, I want one too. And Eve says the cutest thing ever, I think. Like, I win!
Yeah. You're right. It's an awesome family moment. And
I love it.
even Debbie in the background, she was chuckling, and then she's like, I always thought your father looked very handsome in his costume. Mark's like, thanks, Mom. It's great. So that's so awesome. These moments are just the best. So, and they're leaving. So Mark and Eve are leaving Tara with Debbie, and so they're going to spend one final day with her. And so...
This was so sad.
Yeah.
This was so... Reading this, knowing, like, something terrible is going to happen, and seeing... It's a montage. We don't have to go over every single panel, but the last two panels of them with her where she's crying herself to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's not even like, the scene with her crying, but it's them tucking her in and she's still crying. And then it's her asleep, like, with tears in her eyes.
It's so brilliant because, and not to make this seem more than a comic, but, I mean, it's so... you can relate to this in real life. Look at how the beginning of a day, or like the beginning of a Sunday... Like, it's a weekend, and then the closer it gets to the end of the day, the more serious things get, and then it gets sadder and sadder and more real and more real and more real. You know what I mean? Like, the further away they are. And it's just so sad. And it makes me feel like watching this panel, and if you think about the whole comic, like, we're at that point, the end of the comic, you know what I mean? The end of the day where this thing is going to end, and terrible things are going to happen. It's not happy anymore. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was symbolic of that, but I think that it was such a good part of this comic book. This scene and the last scene made the whole comic for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was great. So, and Tara with her little bicornuclops. Now they even Mark talked to Debbie and they bring up the fact that she saw everything that happened to Oliver, and we still haven't gotten a chance to talk to her about this. Mm-hmm. And, Debbie says, she's strong. You have nothing to worry about. She's going to be fine. You two work on, keeping each other safe. So a couple of things here. When are we going to see Tara next?
I don't think we're going to see her for a long time.
Disagree.
They might do little things
like at the beginning of this
back
issue?
to her talking to Mark's mom or something. But if I wouldn't be surprised.
I think she's going to be reoccurring. I just don't think that it's going to...
I'm worried we're not going to see her for at least two... I don't think she's going to be in the next two issues. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't either.
Which sucks. In the Q&A, Kirkman even says he's talking about how Tara is one of his favorites, and how, and he even talks about how when he was... when he first started writing Walking Dead, he wrote the Carl and Rick relationship from the son perspective, as, because he was a son, to his father, obviously. And as he grew up and as he was writing Invincible or Walking Dead, he had children of his own. So he became the father figure. So he says a lot of things that happen in these books, whether it be Carl, Tara, or something like that, are things that his kids have done or said. So he's, which I thought about when reading this.
And we talk about that too, how Kirkman writes it so well. Mm-hmm. And thinking about it, you can tell, they're two different types of comic books. There's nothing really happy to be said about, in The Walking Dead. But it seems closer to real life the way that Tara is and Mark is with Tara, So
absolutely. So yeah, and then nearing the end of this issue, Alan and Nolan board the ship.
Back together again.
Yep.
It's good to see him.
Everybody's kind of on board. Mark's there, Eve's there, Space Racer's there, Thrasher's there. Okay. And Alan says, he says, okay, here's the plan. The Viltrumites attack a planet. They leave a couple Viltrumites on the planet to govern it and, kind of keep the peace. And they go on to the next planet and on to the next planet. So we should start attacking the planets that they've already left so we can turn them, because they're weak, and we could turn them and show the coalition and show all these planets that we're on their side. And Mark interrupts. And he says he has a better idea. And that's it.
I think it's obvious what his idea is, right?
It's the team.
It's the team. Yeah. He's going to need more than these, 6 people to...
You think he's going to Earth?
To take... Absolutely, he's going to Earth. Absolutely, he's going to Earth. He's gonna, everybody that's on Earth. Robot,
All he needs to do is get Robot on his side, and then Robot's going to send everybody else.
Even the people that are against Robot, I think he's going to get them too. I think that this is going to be not an invincible war, but invincible in the sense of the name of the comic.
Yeah.
This is going to be one gigantic war to sum up the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree, but I want it to be that. Because we're 2 issues out of 12. There's only 10 issues left. Get to Earth. I want to see these characters that we've known for so many issues, and I want to get back to them. But at the same time, I kind of feel like it's going to be something else. Part of me is thinking they might want to do like a more direct attack, like a quick hit and run.
Which they would need everybody on Earth to do.
I agree. I hope.
It's going to be one more issue of build-up.
If they think that these 6 characters,
plus the army that they have in the background,
I don't think that they're going to dwell on that too much. You know what I mean? I think because the idea of that alone is just ridiculous.
Next issue opens up. The first page is Mark talking to Robot,
probably
it's probably going to be Robot. It's going to be Robot with a scene of what's going on Earth, and then Mark landing and talking to him, being like, "Hey, we need to talk to you."
All right,
I want it.
More importantly, Space Racer's face. The look on Space Racer's face right here, even he's thinking, how the fuck did I get here? Look at his face. He's like, wait a minute. How did I get here?
Yeah.
They never.
There is no way that they can. It's going to be a quick comment. He's going to be like, oh, I got away from Thrag. Whatever. I got away from him.
I'm beginning to think.
That's a loose end. That's not going to be
No, I don't.
That's too fucking bad.
I agree with Bill. It's going to be something quick. He's going to say something like, that's why he's there. He's, you know what I mean? The reason why he's a part of this team is because he has some kind of inside information. Well, not inside information, but something to offer. He's going to say, oh, well, when this happened, and this happened, and this happened.
And again, we come back to the fact that if it wasn't a final page of an issue, it wouldn't be a big deal. But an issue ended with him being attacked by Thrag. And here
no
he is.
resolution.
Zero
all
resolution.
Of a sudden, here
6 years later, anything could have happened. Could be small. He could have just got away.
He could be working with them. This is the theory that you had.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bill, tell us a little bit about the next issue. We didn't get to do this last issue. So, what's the we got the cover and the next time on. Basically.
So the cover is Ursel. A lot of fighting. A lot of blood.
A little bit of blood. Wait till you see the cover after this.
Yeah, next one.
What's her name? Thresha?
Thresha.
Thresha is Battle Beast Girl. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm sure she would mention a son or being...
She's about to enter a war. I don't know if she's
maybe.
pregnant.
All right, so next issue. The End of All Things, Part 3. The march to the end continues. War begins. Thrag and his forces continue to conquer world after world as they rebuild the Voltrum Empire. Mark and his allies launch an assault in hopes of bringing a swift end to this conflict. Maybe we should have read that before we talked about them going back to Earth.
A swift end. Like I said, what if there is a ship? What if they know where Thrag's ship is and they just go after it and they just punch a hole in it and keep flying? Let's just try and quickly end this. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get shut down and then have to go gather Earth forces. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want that. I think it's going to be them going to Earth. I want that to be it. But
that would be the momentum. I think in that kind of movement would mess up the momentum of the comic. That's why I'm saying there's one more issue of build-up where he'd have to get the whole army together, and then the rest of it is just nonstop fighting and conflict. Because otherwise it'll be conflict, cool. Oh, we're back into a lull. We have to go gather forces like we just did. No, they're gonna build the army in the next issue, and maybe even have that conflict. Like we're acting like a comic can't be, quick.
Yeah.
Or things can't happen fast. But
we'll see. April 19th is issue 135. Gonna be exciting. So. We're going to go on to a couple emails. I think we've got 2 of them.
Our first email is from Jordan Gilbert, which, before I read the email, he actually wrote us an iTunes review, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Let's see. Jordan said, amazing podcast for my favorite comic / hero. You guys are doing a great job bringing a community together for this comic, and I'm glad I can nerd out with fellow fans. Keep it up. Thanks, Jordan, for that 5-star iTunes review. That was awesome. Remember,
5 stars.
Woo!
Don't review us unless you're going to give us 5 stars.
No, that's pretty great. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you very much. All right, so, hey guys, it's Jordan again. As I was hoping, we got some Thrag and Ursel. Nice to see Anand was batshit crazy and had dedicated to corpses he's mutilated. I love the interaction between Thrag and Ursula. She's convinced her dad doesn't love her, and judging from his facial reactions and the way he was going to crush her head, which we talked about, I'd say she's pretty close to being correct. I'm betting she's going to turn on him somewhere toward the end of the series.
I agree.
I also agree. TJ?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Next, Alan owns up to his sneaky deceitfulness to Mark and Eve. So is Eve, like, even stronger now since she grabbed up Alan like that? Or did she just have... Did he just let her have her way with him? Nonetheless, an emotionally charged scene. Nice to see emotion between Nolan and Mark as he semi-blames himself for Oliver's death. And as always, just enough Tara. As I hoped previously, it looks like she's going to be in a safe haven while all this goes on. Nice family interaction, all three, I agree. This issue was filler, as I predicted, but I think next issue it's going to pick up. And definitely 136 with having a fuck ton of blood on it. Is that what you guys were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shit's going to get crazy. I can't even give a good prediction, LOL. Sorry for a long letter. Look forward to listening. Love, Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
I don't think this issue was filler. I just don't like that
either.
word.
Yeah, but
I don't
TJ,
think
you
it was
even
filler.
said it was kind of filler, but it's one of those filler episodes or issues that you come back to and you're like, that shit wasn't filler.
Right.
Like, absolutely, yes. It was, like, Jordan
really did clear up a
Jordan,
lot of
like,
stuff.
wrote a long email about it. Like, a lot happens in it. It's just that there's no action, really. I mean, there was actually, like, you know, Eve and Alan and Nolan and Mark. Like, there's some
This
quick
issue
things.
set up for things that you're going to want to see. Like, if our prediction is right and they do go to Earth and it's characters meeting up that haven't
Like, look
seen
at
each
what
other.
was going on 2-3 issues ago. We can't go right into fighting. There's stuff that has to be resolved.
If this issue was quote-unquote filler, and I'm not saying that, I understand. I think that we throw the word around a lot.
And I know Jordan's doing that too.
Filler
He's
is
not saying
always
it negative.
means negative.
Right.
I don't think Jordan's meaning it.
No, I know. I'm
yeah,
just saying that the word filler is always taken as a negative thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So the idea to fill is to take a hole and fill it with something, right? And it doesn't have to be filled. However, let's take this comic book out like it never happened and just skip to the next issue.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
That's what I mean.
So,
this is necessary.
so people, and Jordan, again, not you, I understand because you don't think that it's filler. And granted...
In the negative sense.
Right, in the negative sense. But I think people need to think about what they mean when they say filler. Like, this issue is so fucking important.
Yeah.
Like, everything that happened in it.
Good.
And good.
It's funny. It's sad. It's so good.
Right. Agreed.
I feel like we've been kind of not negative, but
Hard.
like we've
been
been
hard.
hard on the comic for a while, and this is the first issue where we're like, this is awesome,
So positive.
or
Like,
in a while, anyways.
Yeah.
So positive.
So positive.
And I was going to make a really inappropriate joke, but...
Go ahead, TJ. You got something?
Well, there was just a question that was brought up on Facebook that I kind of wanted to bring up. Ryan Headley asked us how we pronounce the word Viltrumite or Viltrumite.
Wrong. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do it all the time, and I try and catch myself. It depends on how I'm talking. Sometimes if I'm talking fast, I'm really into it, especially in like new readers and talking to Liz and Brittany. I'll be like, oh, blah, 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 Viltrumite and this and that. It's not Viltrumite. It's Viltrumite.
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 I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. It does not sit well in my mouth.
I think the only people in the world that have called it Viltrumite are probably sitting in this room.
Probably.
So everyone at home is probably like, when we say
Whenever
we don't
we
like
say
the name Viltrumite, they're so used to it that they're like, well, that's what it fucking
what it
is.
says.
What made me feel stupid is that I like we had talked about this before the podcast.
Yeah, that's why I've been catching myself.
And as I was saying, I'm like, fuck, I'm saying Voltrum a lot. I'm like, oh, on the planet Voltrum? Viltrum?
No. I caught myself a couple times during this episode, so yeah, we're working on that.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, Viltrumite.
Kirkman says it in the Q&A.
He says Viltrumite?
He says Viltrumite.
He's fucking wrong. He's wrong. He's high. He doesn't know what he's talking about anymore.
Oh, boy. All right, TJ, you got another?
Yeah, we got an email from Niall. And he says, we're back, boys. Fingerless gloves, goggles, knee pads, and all that shit. But on a serious note, I absolutely loved this issue. Mark being completely understanding of Alan and Eve, taking out their combined frustrations out on him. Also loved Mark putting the pieces together for his father to get the big picture. Tara's a fucking hater. Mark and Eve's costumes look amazing. I also loved how they didn't forget about Tara witnessing Oliver's death like it never happened. Can't wait to hear Mark's idea next issue and the podcast. P.S. Where the fuck did Space Racer come from?
Right?
Now.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that. Totally.
Love Niall. He's the love is there. Do you see it?
It's
Let's
not
look a
there.
little bit closer.
It's
It's
not
there.
there.
Yep,
He doesn't
it's
like
there.
you.
He likes us.
He doesn't.
It's there.
Oh boy!
It's there.
All right. So now we're actually going to go on to one of our new segments where we sit down with an Invincible fan just like you. This week we sat down with Rob Zeida, who has some really great stories and some fun stuff to talk about.
All right, so here we are with Rob Zeida. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you all tonight?
Very
Doing good.
We're having a little issues.
I should say I know how you guys are doing because we've been trying to figure this out. But
Yeah,
to be polite.
For everybody listening, we've been having some issues with the mic, so sorry if this sounds a little off, but we'll make do. So, Rob, we actually met you back in 2014. TJ and I, the same way we actually met Mike Barrett.
In line to see Ottley at Comic-Con, but you were working with him.
Yeah, I was his indentured servant for the show. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of various things with Invincible. If anyone who follows any of the social media for Invincible, that's a lot of it's me. I've been lucky enough that Skybound's, taking good care of me and set me up with the stuff for Invincible that I just started originally as a fan doing, and
did you just bug him to death? Like, were you just constantly around, and start helping out and just become more active?
For Ryan, sort of, yeah. With Ryan, what happened was I met him at Boston Comic Con in 2011, and I had a table at that show, and he was pretty much the main person who I wanted to see at the show, and went and talked to him for a while, and wanted to buy some pages, but I was pretty broke at the time, and I bought one page, my first page from Invincible Art. I did buy at that show because I thought it was pretty cheap. It's it's a terrible moment in the series, but not a terrible gory moment, but it's the right after Eve says she had the abortion, and it's the page with the two of them. I think it's the last page of the issue with him saying, "I'm sorry I did this to you," and I have that page, and I looked at other pages too, and what struck up a conversation with Ryan and I originally was two other people were looking at the pages, and it was the page from the first page where Mark comes back and Eve's heavier, or the first issue where she's trying on her suit and she's going, "Does this make my butt look big?" Yeah. And I said, my wife had yelled at me because I said, "Oh, fat Eve" at that time. And Emily went off about, "She's not fat. She doesn't look fat, blah, blah, blah." And Ryan just kind of was drawing his commissions and stopped and looked up. He's like, "Wait, what?" And he just started laughing, and we started up a conversation. And then the next day for the show, I was at my table with my dad, and Ryan was walking by and saw me and came over and just like, "Hey, man, how's it going? This is where you set up?" And we were talking for a few minutes, and after he left, my dad was like, "Oh, who's that? Is that one of your friends?" And I was like, "No, that's Ryan Ottley, who draws Invincible." And my dad just started laughing because, I've been a comic book fan for most of my life, and I've gone to a lot of shows with my dad. And as a kid, I was always really nervous talking to anybody. And my dad used to always joke, he'd try to get me to haggle with dealers on price for stuff, and I'd always be too nervous to do it. And Dad just started laughing. He's like, "You know what?" He's like, "I remember bringing you to shows as a little kid, and you were too scared to talk to anyone or, ask for anything or haggle and anything." And he's like, "And now here we're sitting here, and that's your favorite artist just came over and was like, 'Oh, hey, how's it going, man?' and talking to you, and I thought I was just one of your high school friends or something." He's like, "I'm proud of you." And that was a cool moment for me. And I don't know if you guys know I talk about it a lot, but my dad passed away soon after that. And I sent Ryan an email at that point with kind of the breakdown of what I just said to you guys of, like if you're wondering how your work affects people ever, and if, anything you do really kind of makes a difference in people's life, I'm like, that was one of the biggest moments for me with my dad. And like I had told that in my dad's eulogy even.
Wow.
That was like such a big moment for me with him, to be like, I'm proud of you, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm making it sound like nothing, but it was a big, substantial moment for me. So Ryan was like, hey, he's like, I know I had seen you, or at that point I had seen him at another show in New York, which was the first time we really hung out a lot. And that was kind of by chance that he was at, it was one of the Wizard Big Apple cons that they had. And where they set him up was like, he was downstairs, like separate from the comic book store floor with like, most of the bigger, like I know Jim Chung was there, and I don't know, there's a couple other bigger comic names that were right around him, but they also had the line for all the celebrities literally snaked around in front of all of their tables. And it was, it was like Carl from The Walking Dead, and the kid that's on The Flash now that was on Harry Potter. I can't remember his name.
Twilight. What's his name?
Blonde kid.
He was he was Edward in Twilight.
Patterson or something?
No.
He was a Flash?
Oh,
he's on The Flash
Tom
now.
Felton. Tom Felton.
Yeah. He was there in like the female Terminator was there, and there was all these lines that were completely limiting anybody from getting to Ryan's table.
Wow.
So I ended up sitting with him and talking for like 2 hours because no one
nobody
could get
to him.
Yeah, and B, it was really hard for me to even try to get out. So
yeah,
he like pulled up a chair.
You were stuck with Ryan.
He pulled
Ottley.
up a chair for me, and we hung out for a while. So after my dad died, I sent him that email, and he's like, I'm going to be in New York again. I don't know if you live there or where you actually live, but if you're coming to New York Comic Con, why don't you come and hang out? And I wasn't going at that point, but it was pretty depressing when my dad died, obviously, and I hadn't really gone out or done much. My son had just been born, and I hadn't really done anything at all at that point socially. So I decided, why not? I will go. And I went and Ryan drew a commission for me. Some people probably have seen it online. It's Conquest holding a little baby Invincible. And because my dad had, it's a print, I think, of by Neil Adams, who was my dad's favorite artist, of Pa Kent holding a baby Superman. And it's all in pencil. And when he's holding him, he's holding like the costume draped over his arm.
Yeah.
So Ryan did the same thing with Conquest and Invincible. And the reason why I did Conquest, not Omni-Man, is Conquest looks pretty much exactly like my father.
Wow.
And my dad met Ryan, but he met after Conquest was out. And like, if you saw if anyone goes on my Facebook page, you can see a picture of me and my dad, and my grandfather is my banner, and he looks very much like Conquest. So I went with that as the picture, and it works out well. And so I hung out with him there, and we talked more, and I was going to go see him in Baltimore the year later, and I finally was just like, hey, I'm probably going to be hanging out at your table anyway, so if you need someone to help you work, I'm probably going to be hanging out anyway. So, and I helped him run the table at that point, and then you guys saw me in Boston.
So that was, the time you were in Boston that we saw you was like your second or third time working it?
Yeah, that was the second, that was probably the most in-depth at that point that I'd been working. And then, later on I did a few New York shows with him But then his cousin Burke, no, that's not his cousin Burke. I can't remember his cousin's name that works with him now, but has been doing shows with him since. So hey, it's his family, you know.
We met him when we interviewed Ottley.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was nice guy. Yeah, he was helping him with his booth in Toronto.
Yeah. He, he's helping him out, and that's great. You know. I would help my family out first, no matter what, too. And a lot of people ask me, like, is there something wrong? Is there this? And I'm not. It's just he told me in New York, he's like, hey, my cousin asked about doing them, so he's going to be going shows with me. I was like, okay,
that's
cool.
awesome.
But at the first the actual New York Comic Con that I went to, I also got introduced to Sean Makiewicz and Sean Kirkham from Skybound. And at that point, I live on this. You guys know I live on Cape Cod. There is no real comic book store on Cape Cod. There's a Newbury Comics, and really my only people that I would talk to about comics were the Image forums, the Kirkman boards, and I decided, you know what? I'm like, why don't I start a Facebook page about Invincible and see who we can get to talk on there. And kind of, it seemed like message boards were kind of going away, and it was more interactions with stuff like Twitter and stuff like Facebook. So I started a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And a few months later, after that New York, the image boards got completely hacked by Russians. And I used to help run a sports cards message board. So I sent Sean Kirkham a message like, hey, I can help you guys with this and fix it, but, you guys either got to close the boards down or, get someone in there that will actually moderate it. And so he set me up to run the image boards. And that was going, and, it's still, they're up. There haven't been any Russian hackers since then. But, well, other than the election.
Yeah, at least not on the image boards.
Yeah, they've moved on to other things. But, so was doing that, and then, I still had the Facebook page going too, because more people, were moving from boards to Facebook. And then, I don't know, within like less than a year, I got a message from Brian Huntington, because he started at Skybound after I was already doing the boards and had the Invincible Facebook page. And I said, he's like, hey, this page is really good. We were thinking of starting an Invincible page for Skybound, but this one's already here and doing all right. He's like, who are you? And I was like, this is Rob. I run the image boards for you guys. I know Ottley. I know Sean Kirkham. They'll vouch for me. And he's like, oh. He's like, why don't we just make this the official one of Skybound? And I was like, that's cool with me. And so it's been their page for, that was probably 2013, I want to say.
Is that Invincifans?
Yeah, no, well, the Invincifans is a group. I started a group as well because
you're talking about the page, the Invincible page.
Yeah, it's like facebook.com/InvincibleUniverse. I don't update it as much because, well, the book's going away, so let's be honest, But the Invincible fans page I started as well because Facebook makes you pay to get people to see anything. So we can have a couple thousand fans, but for most things that get posted on there, only like 200-300 people see it. So if you have a group, and I learned this from the Eric Larson fans, if you have a group, pretty much everyone sees what everything is posted. So it's just kind of a way to do the same thing as a fan page, but actually have people be able to discuss and see it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've been doing that for a few years now, and I've been lucky enough to become friends with other people who've worked on the various Invincible books. I hang out with Nate Bellegarde every few months. He is probably my son's favorite non-family member on Earth. And like Ransom Getty, I see at shows all the time because he's up in Vermont and he's an awesome guy. Consider a good friend.
Oh, he came around too. He's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I wish he could get stuff done in a timely manner that he could be doing regular books because he's so talented.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, and he would tell you that too. And I'm good friends with Cena at this point.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Like my son calls him Uncle Cena. So, it's been real lucky to kind of get to know that group. And
yeah, and you actually get, like we were talking about it, you actually get Invincible, what is it even called? Is it like the proof?
Yeah, I get the advanced proof. That originally started because, I was talking to Ryan and actually at the Baltimore Comic-Con about, with the page and everything, it was starting to get more and more people on there. And it was tough for me to be able to talk about the books or know what was a spoiler because, living on Cape Cod, only having Newbury Comics and at that point in time, only having Newbury Comics that didn't get their new comics until Thursdays.
Yeah, that's how my comic shop is. It's rough.
Yeah, it was tough for me to be able to, moderate if people were posting real spoilers, and B, just to be able to discuss it with people. So he was like, well, we'll just get you set up on the mailing list for the advance copies. And, it's cool because, it's most of the time it's the finished issue. I think only once in the entire time that I've been getting them, I got a black and white copy. And one issue ever when I got it, there was a page. It was the issue that Mark was leaving Earth, and I don't remember the number right now, but when he was meeting with his dad to talk about, that he's leaving and everything.
Yeah.
And that page, when I got it, was the color page, and it was them up on the mountain and everything, but there was no words. And just because of the nature of the scene, I thought, I looked at it, and just with the expressions and how everything was, I was like, oh man, they did a silent page with the two of them, kind of a understanding and knowing, this is what I have to do. I know this is, and I was just looking at his dad, I was like, man, that's really powerful. And then Ryan's like, you idiot. He's like, there's words. You just forgot to. When they did the proof, they sent it without that, and I was like, oh. I was like, I looked at it completely different. It's like, God.
So are most of the errors, if there ever are errors, are most of them just the lettering or the words or misspelling?
It's probably been since, I want to say since around issue 104, 105, I've been getting the proofs, and there's been pretty much 3 or 4 total lettering errors. Russ Wooten is an absolute machine with I think he letters as many books as Marvel puts out with Wolverine in the 90s. I realize that reference is dated nowadays. Probably Deadpool would be the right one to say nowadays. But he letters so many books, and the fact that everything is flawless for the most part is just unbelievable to me. So I've seen, it was I remember once, the where the balloon was, there was a word that was capitalized that shouldn't have been. And one time it was supposed to be the, and it cut off the T were in the bubble.
Yeah.
So it was he. But beyond that, there's been very, very few
That's crazy.
errors that I've ever even seen.
Wow.
But it's great. I love, it's the day the issue comes out, I reread it, to be able to discuss it with people and whatnot. But still, you have to kind of, when you have the conversation with people, kind of check in your head, all right, which. Okay.
Yeah, we were almost able to sit down with you a couple of weeks ago and do this chat, but and had we done that, you would have known what happened in 134 before we even got a chance to do it.
I'm expecting any day now, because I'm pretty sure Ryan had everything in the can for 4 or 5 issues, going up to this point. So I'm pretty sure any day now. It's usually I looked at it. I got this issue February 17th. So within a day or so, it has to be the next issue. I should be getting it in my email from Ariel at Skybound. So I'm excited. I think this issue is a nice setup. Some big moments of building moments, but not like nothing's hit the crazy what I'm expecting that we're going to see within the next few issues.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
I think that this issue definitely set up for it. We talked about that a little bit in the podcast.
I honestly, I used to know kind of in advance what would be happening, and right now, because I haven't seen Ryan for a while and I haven't really discussed anything with him, I don't know anything beyond this issue of what's happening. So, it's cool, and I'm glad, because every issue I come in again, it's like, oh, all right, awesome. Like, I know a lot of people, not this current week's issue, but like last month's issue, a lot of people like on the Invincible fans
they were down on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, you got a wedding issue
and a funeral.
That's been built to the entire series out of nowhere. Like that's they did something that comics don't normally do. It was kind of like, it reminded me of I don't know if you guys watch Parks and Recreation. But just kind of out of nowhere, Andy and April get married one episode, and they don't do like the big like, we're having a wedding issue, we're having a wedding episode on TV. It was just like, hey, here's your wedding, boom. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And no radio where I have a cough button, but I liked it a lot. The whole thing with Oliver, and I think Corey's last issue was unbelievable as well.
Yeah, and those just got better and better. Every single one of Corey's just kept building and building. They were great.
Yeah, it's like, so many people were like down on him, and it's like the one at the last issue, but the one where like the two kids were going after Tara was just like I was so tense.
Oh, I know.
We talked about that too, where we couldn't even like,
you can't breathe, and it's the same one where Tara couldn't breathe. Like that's insane. It was. It was awesome.
And like people were like, "Oh, I don't know, just nothing really happened," and it wasn't. And it's like, are you in like? There's so many people that like, you see like, I love Ryan's art, but some people weren't willing to give any sort of chance to anything about those issues, and it's like, come on, like. It was frustrating for me every day to read stuff on there, and I thought those issues were awesome.
Yeah, it was tough last year dealing with the ups and downs and everything like that. When you're trying to stay positive and you're trying to like see the good in all this stuff and like be excited about it, and you go online or you read things and it's a lot of negativity. But
I
get it.
Literally anyone that you speak to in the comic industry is like, Corey's one of the most talented people on earth, and there's literally nobody I know that works in comics that wouldn't say Corey is on another level of talent.
Have you've read Destroyer, right?
I have not. No.
Really? Oh, you got to check out Destroyer.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was
very good story.
I've seen it a bunch and I've never read it, but no, I haven't.
It's only 5 issues.
Yeah, that's Corey and Kirkman. That was really cool. It was great. So, while we're talking about kind of the end of Invincible, are there anything? Yeah. What are some things that like you really kind of want to happen or expect to happen? Is there anything like that like is there a moment that you're waiting for? Or?
Again, in the past I have known spoilers, and I'll say that I don't know spoilers, so these are legitimate. 100% just my opinions. I think Nolan's gonna die.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
That's going to be rough on me because, like I said, my dad died. And I found out it's kind of funny, but very darkly funny. My whole family was over August 17th, and that's the day that my dad died. And also the day that they announced that Invincible was ending. And I didn't know ahead of time that it was ending. What just fell? Okay, I don't know what that was. I didn't know at all ahead of time.
Wow.
So I'm just checking Twitter, and my Twitter blew up about it ending. And my grandparents are over and my mom's over, and they're all meeting my daughter for the first time. And I look at my phone and I get the message. I'm like, oh, what? No, what? And they're all like, what's going on? And I'm like looking at the context of that day.
Yeah.
Me reacting like that is like, And I was like, oh, wait, no, well, my favorite comics ending, and you guys know that's a big deal. But, yeah, no, nothing like what we've dealt with on this day before. But, so it was weird to find out. And, I mean, I know Nate, like I said, is a friend of mine, and he found out that day, too. So it was kind of weird, like, dealing with that. But I think Nolan's got to die. Hopefully it's a really badass ending.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned with the amount of faith and trust he's put in Robot these last few issues, and it was one of Corey's issues where they go to Earth, and Nolan and Mark actually get in an argument about how much Nolan and Robot have become friends, and that's starting to creep up on me a little bit and make me feel like that might come back to bite Nolan a little bit.
The moment sort of like that I'm very interesting, and I really hope that they tie up at the end is Robot Invincible in the alternate universe.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the side stories that I'm most I love. That the baby monster girl conquest.
Like if that doesn't play some sort of very large role in the end, I don't know. I mean, that's such a thread that will always bug me if that never gets resolved.
You know what?
But
I mean, Robot has access to that dimension in a way, right? I mean,
yeah.
And we have and Mark, who is, leading those Viltrumites, and they might need their help. You know what I mean? So maybe
other dimensional.
Yeah. So maybe. Huh.
Did we just come up with a new theory?
Maybe.
that they're gonna jump dimensions to get help?
No, that they might pull Mark from another dimension, that Mark with that army, with that conquest. So we get to see Conquest in the end.
Oh, because you imagine Conquest fighting Thrag? Holy fucking shit. You just did that.
It would be a cool way to do callbacks, too. A Battle Beast from another dimension, or a Rexplode from another dimension.
Oh, my God.
Something you could have quite the army put together.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I think is the big...
Maybe that's his idea.
Bomb that needs to be dropped. And, I've always... when I've talked over story stuff with Ryan, I've always said that's one of the most important things to me. And I remember the other thing I really complained about, and sort of got changed a little bit, but during Reboot, when he had the fight with Nolan, it always bugged me that he didn't just say, "You're Argyll's heir." Like, when
I never thought of that.
Like, when he's having a fight with Nolan about, like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to, this is what happens, this is what happens. He never said that. And it always bugged me a little bit to be like, if you're going to tell someone, like, you go to the store and you buy a lottery ticket, but you don't tell them that the lottery ticket won, like, like, I always want, like, and when I saw the context of the fight where everything kind of happened quickly, he never really got to that point, but
yeah,
wouldn't you think that would just be step one?
It is pretty important.
You don't have to take over Earth. You're in charge of the Viltrumites.
Yeah. I don't know, would that have changed what Nolan would have done? I mean, he probably still would have fought Mark, still got angry. I mean...
Yeah, he probably would have still fought him. But...
Because at that moment, Nolan is loyal to the Viltrumites regardless of whether or not he knows that he's the heir.
Yeah, yes, he is.
Well, and then that could have just been a lie that Mark was saying. Like, that's
he didn't fully believe him anyways.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, Mark knew his intentions, and then that's what kind of freaked Nolan out, is that's exactly what was going to happen. But just, I mean, that's like me saying, you're the heir of President Obama. Like, yup. Believe me, because I know things. You know what I mean? There's no way to back that up, really.
Yeah, but when he's hitting other things that are,
other than
he knows are true.
Yeah.
I guess other than the fact that how would Mark know who that was? That would have ticked something. because at the time, like Nolan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You didn't find out about Argyle in the book until later.
Reboot was awesome. Like all those fun callbacks, like being able to just that kind of what if mentality. It was a lot of fun. You're right.
I love the fact that you got to see Ottley draw older stuff.
Yeah.
Now, like, you know, he's got so much better over time that it was just awesome to see all the different things at his level that he's at now done again. Like when I was in New York that year, what was that 2015? I think. Yeah. When I was in New York that year, I think he had the second issue original art with him. And I sit down at the table at the show, where both of us sit down, and we were setting up, and he just opens his backpack and pulls out Nolan punching through. He punched through Immortal in that issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, look!" And I was just like, "What?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Like, I mean, I love those early issues, but like art wise, from that point to today, he's just worlds different.
It's amazing. It's so great. I mean, I was just looking at it earlier today, and you know, it's going on 15 years. I mean, it's so great that we get to see his progression. And we talked about that with Ottley, like being able to see his evolution and, you know, see his skills just grow. It's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I consider him a friend, but he's, you know, probably my favorite artist out there today. He's, you know, that style of he's one of the closest things you get to like the 90s Image guys without being one of the 90s Image guys. Like, I mean, obviously there's still like Capullo and Jim Lee occasionally, and, you know, there's the guys around that are still from the 90s, but, you know, there's like Ottley, David Finch, Stegman. You know, there's not a ton of guys at this point that really draw that, you know, cross-hatching energy, kind of crazy, wild, you know, superhero style that you'd see back then.
Yeah.
More of the clean line, Frank Whiteley, you know, type, not advised, but influenced art, or, you know, Mignola influenced guys. And those guys are awesome, you know, like Nick Patera, Andrew McLean. You know, they're all very different styles, and they're all awesome. But, you know, I grew up, you know, reading. I mean, I grew up reading everything, but the stuff that I really loved as a kid was, you know, the 90s McFarlane Spider-Mans, Liefeld New Mutants, Jim Lee X-Men, stuff like that. I absolutely loved. So glad to see something that kind of captures that. And that was kind of what drew me to it. Invincible originally was like, I was just like, oh man, this is a book I discovered.
How early on did you start reading it? Like around what issue did you start picking it up?
75.
Wow, okay.
So I wasn't very early. It was, you know, pretty much when Walking Dead came on television.
Wow.
I tried out Walking Dead because of the show. I mean, I was reading comics. I've subscribed to Spider-Man my whole life. And, you know, I was reading comics, and, you know, I tried out Walking Dead, and I was like, oh, this show's okay. I'm like, let me read the book. And I was just like, oh, this book's amazing. Let me read other stuff that this guy has done. And, you know, it was really, Invincible was the other big thing. And I was just like, this is so much better than in Walking Dead right away. I was just like, oh, I love this book. And, you know, pretty much since 76 was my first day. I started literally right after the war.
Wow.
Or in the war, but after.
Yeah, it was during it, but after the big issue.
Yeah. You know, that was my first book that I read, and I, you know, haven't missed an issue since.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. I think we got to start wrapping up then, man.
All right, yeah. I mean, I talk all day, so.
No, it's great. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for sharing, especially everything with your dad and everything like that. That's amazing. Just like, this is why we wanted to sit down with other fans of Invincible and everything, like hearing their stories. And
why Invincible is important to them, why the people that work on it are important to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been very lucky, you know, to consider Ryan a friend. You know, the people at Skybound are just amazing to deal with, like Sean Kirkham. If you guys don't know him at all, is one of the coolest people in the world.
Anyone that I've ever interacted with at Skybound has been super nice and just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Sean's great, except for the fact that I kicked his ass in fantasy football this year. I just got to point out because I am his current fantasy football champion. But, beyond that, they're awesome. And I'm very much looking forward to tomorrow getting in my Invincible action figures.
Yeah.
Are on their way. I checked the tracking. I thought it was coming. Oh, nice.
Yeah, TJ got his bloody Invincible.
I saw pictures of them in New York, and I hadn't been able to say anything. So I'm very happy to actually get them. And, I have a 4-year-old, and he plays with any of the Invincible. I have, like, the Funko Pop looking thing, and he plays with all the toys and has all the pins.
Oh,
yeah. I'm psyched to let him play with those. Give him the bloody Invincible within the intestines to play with.
Yep.
He's 4. But, so appreciate the time, guys. And anyone out there, just, check us out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/InvincibleUniverse. That's the official page. I should post more than I do, but...
Or the Invince Fans page. Check out the Invince Fans page.
Invince Fans group on Facebook as well. A lot more active overall because it's just a lot easier for people to see the stuff on that.
And what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is @RobbieZ, ROBBIEZ. Real easy to find. I've had Twitter for about 10 years now, so I was able to get one of those real small. That's my Gmail address too, so able to get one of those really small addresses early on.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure. We've got 10 more issues. So it's going to be a really fun year. So
I keep hoping that it's just going to be one of those, we were just effing with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Like the death of everyone, where it's like, we're going to kill everybody. Nah, we're not.
Yeah.
Like, we're ending it. Nah. Yeah.
But I think it really is happening this time.
Yeah, I know. But it's going to be great.
I didn't even want to ask Ryan. I'm like, are you working us? Like, is that... But I didn't even, it's... We'll see in, 10 months-ish.
Yeah.
I think he should be on time. He said if it... I remember him saying earlier, if he's going to get behind it all, he'll end up grabbing an inker again to keep it more on pace. But I think they're doing all right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I really am not. I don't really have much doubt in the fact that this is going to be pretty consistent and, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And one other thing, if anyone is on the Invincible Fans page, I owe a scan. Maybe I'll try to do that right now. I'm going to be giving away, adding to Mike and Rob's contest that they have on there. We talked about this earlier. There is a recalled edition of Invincible 94. That's probably it is the rarest Invincible book out there. There's nothing you can really tell that's different about it, except for if you look at some of the first few pages, it literally, when they printed, the ink set totally wrong, and it looks like all the pages are underwater. So they scrapped them, and the only people who got those issues were people who worked on the book who got comps, and I got 5 of Ryan Ottley's copies of it, and I have 4 still. I gave one to Corey Puga, who, if you guys haven't had on...
No, he's on our list. He doesn't know it yet, but he's on our list.
Corey's by far my favorite person in the Invincible fandom. He's the nicest human on earth, and he's such a dedicated fan. And he's awesome to other fans, too. So
cool.
I gave Corey one of the issues in Baltimore, and then I still have 4. I was keeping one for me, one for my son, but now I have a daughter too, so I guess I got to keep 2. and I'll be giving one of them away in that contest that they didn't announce. They're like some page of art, the figures, some graded books,
there's some great
bunch of really cool stuff. But that will be in there. It's signed by Robert and Ryan now, and hopefully at New York this year I'll get Corey to sign it too, since it was one of those dual issues.
Yeah.
So if anyone, it's out already, so I can say this. Since no one died,
are you guys going to extend it?
I mean, they should be able to because no one died in this issue. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
When they were saying it first, they were like, well,
everybody should go
extend it if no one dies.
Yeah.
I'm like,
everybody should go to the Invincible fans Facebook group and find out whether or not they extended the contest, because it's a great contest and everybody should go check it out. And there's some amazing prizes, like obviously like the one you just talked about. So
yeah, and I know there's like a page from issue 52, I think. So some cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
So.
All right, man.
That's my plug. Thank you, guys.
Oh, of course. No problem. We will talk to you later. Thanks again for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back. Well, I'm back because I'm the only one here right now doing the outro because we forgot to do the outro. So thanks again to Rob for, sitting down and, joining us for that part of the episode. And remember, if you want to email us, you can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Now, for those of you that enjoy the New Reader episodes, you'll be excited to know that in 2 weeks, the next episode of the podcast will be the New Reader Volume 9. The girls are getting pretty close to catching up, so I'm excited to sit down and talk to them about that. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.